With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Friday, 25 July. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the UK and Australia deepening ties over the AUKUS treaty. The ICC has convicted 2 over Central African Republic war crimes, and Trump is suing New York over being a sanctuary city. So firstly, the UK said on Friday that it will join Australia in a 50-year commitment to the nuclear-powered submarine pact with the United States. The move reinforces the agreement as Washington signals uncertainty about the long-term role. The new British-Australian treaty will support both countries' submarine programs for the next 50 years, generating tens of thousands of jobs, British Defence Secretary John Healey said. Healey, who was visiting Australia with the Foreign Secretary, described the AUKUS as one of Britain's most important defence partnerships. Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong said the two countries were working to shape the collective security in the Indo-Pacific region. The 2021 AUKUS agreement calls for Australia to acquire at least 3 Virginia-class submarines from the United States within 15 years and eventually to manufacture submarines of its own. But in the US, critics question why Washington is prioritizing the sale of nuclear-powered submarines to Australia rather than strengthening their own naval fleet. So what? This is going to put a lot of pressure on the US to get to continue to be a part of the agreement, one that seems pretty critical for security in the Indo-Pacific region. While it's not currently clear how the US and whoever is making these submarines intends to expand their capability to, fill these orders, it's possible that this could breathe life back into the kind of Western naval building fleet factories in the UK, maybe start them in Australia and also the US, which would be great for some organic control over how to build our own navies again, as China is currently rapidly outpacing the West in terms of their ability to build naval vessels. And next, judges at the International Criminal Court on Thursday convicted 2 Central African Republic militia leaders of war crimes and crimes against humanity. Patrice Eduardo Nagasonia, a former football official, was sentenced to 12 years, while militia commander Alfred Yekatom, known as Rambo, received a 15-year term. The court found both men guilty of directing a brutal campaign of violence in 2013 and 14, including murder, torture, persecution, and the forcible transfer of Muslim civilians. The men were leaders of the mostly Christian anti-Balaka militias. Both had pleaded not guilty when the trial began in 2021. The pair allegedly commanded around 3,000 fighters and were found to have encouraged atrocities by their forces and were sentenced. The leader was sentenced to a higher term. The anti-Balaka movement emerged in 2013 in response to violence and abuses committed by the predominantly Muslim Seleka rebels who had seized power in March of that year. The resulting conflict saw widespread communal violence and displacement, with Muslim communities bearing the brunt of the reprisal attacks. The presiding judge recounted harrowing acts of brutality committed by the militia against the local Muslim tribes. He said that fighters under the command of these 2 tortured one man by cutting off his fingers, toes, and ears before they disappeared, his body was never recovered. Other victims were killed and then mutilated. The ICC has been investigating the conflict since May 2014. A separate trial for the former Seleka leader is ongoing at the court in The Hague. The court also acquitted the two of conscripting child soldiers and found them both not guilty of rape. Both men pleaded not guilty to all charges. So what? It's good to see the ICC holding people to account for crimes against humanity and war crimes rather than continue to go after leaders that they essentially cannot touch in like figurehead moves. It kind of like breathes a so what? It's good to see the ICC actually achieving some goals in prosecution against people who committed war crimes, as for the past few years it seems they've just been kind of going after people who they essentially can't charge because they're defended by their own states. It's good to see that, you know, people are held to account for their crimes across Africa and dating back to even like 2013, 2014. It might possibly put other leaders off committing certain acts of violence if they know that in the future they could be held to account. However, it's possible they just don't give a fuck. And yeah. And lastly, US President Donald Trump has sued New York City on Thursday over its sanctuary city policies, arguing they are obstructing the federal government's ability to enforce immigration law. New York is one of a number of US cities that prohibit local police from making arrests based on a person's immigration status. The sanctuary cities also limit their cooperation and information sharing with federal authorities. Trump has repeatedly criticized these policies. The lawsuit against New York also says that the current mayor, the police commissioner, and numerous other city officials and departments are part of this. The Assistant Attorney General said New York City has been at the vanguard of interfering with enforcement of immigration laws for years. So what? Trump's really taken this left versus right thing to the extreme. I could kind of see where he's coming from. Like, you need to be able to enforce immigration policies, otherwise everything just goes to shit. But also, these cities have voted for their mayors who are definitely left or Democratic or left-leaning for a reason, right? The people there don't like right-leaning policies. And as we saw in LA, when you try and enforce such policies, things kick off and turn into a bit of civil unrest. It's highly likely that this will happen again, as the people in New York clearly want these types of policies to be enacted as they continue to vote for left-leaning politicians rather than other places in the country that vote right. So it's a pretty tough sell for Trump to bring in his right-leaning policies and try and enforce them on a population that don't agree. This will in turn likely lead to a bit of civil unrest and protesting against the enforcement. Thank you for listening. That's been your Intel Brief, and I'll see you again next week, I believe. See you.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 350 plus undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.